Hello, I'm Graham Sindon. Welcome to Talking About Speedway. My guest in the studio this morning, Matthew Cross. Matthew, welcome to the program.
Morning, Graham. Thanks. Great to be here.
Matthew, I wanted to talk to you on several issues, but firstly, if I can, Matthew Cross, the racer, just tell us where you're at this time of the year with your package and your budgets and your preparation.
Yeah, sure. Gearing up for another season in the SCG Maddington Toyota Series. So we had a bit of an average season last year, a few motor gremlins and reliability issues and all the fun that goes with that. So this year we've put in a bit of effort and we've picked up another engine to get us going for the season, which is good. So had that on the dyno a couple of weeks ago and pretty impressed with that. A few modifications to the trailer and more spare parts and rebuilds, and
as you do.
That's it. Busy month ahead, but we should be ready to roll for.
So you've budgeted for the whole SEG series. Any other shows, country shows or anything?
We'll probably do about 3/4 of the SEG series is where we'll be at, and that'll obviously include the Australian title and the Cricket Boys race and those ones. Probably won't make it to any of the SAWA series events out in the country, but you never know. If we do all right and find a few more sponsors, we might get to a few more meets.
Now, Matthew Cross, the operations manager, just tell me a little bit about what you do to bring the dollars in.
Yeah, sure. So I work for Diab Engineering. So it's a structural mechanical piping fabrication company, predominantly service the mining industry and fixed plant maintenance projects, construction. We've got a major workshop up in Geraldton. We've got another office down here in Welshpool that I work out of. But fair bit of travel and keeping the minds going.
You're a busy man. Are they a bit flexible with your hours?
Yeah, no, I've got a good boss, good company to work for, and we put in some extra hours here and there, and gets back.
Well done to Diab Engineering. Now, the reason that I got you in here is your role as president of the Sprintcar Association of WA. Big role there as well.
Yeah, no, it's an enjoyable role. So this is my second year now as the president. Been involved in the committee for 3, maybe 4 years now. Came in a couple of years ago just as a general committee member. Got a feel for it and who was involved and how the committee ran. And then, last year took on the president's role. Handed over from Jeff Murphy to myself, which was really good seeing how Jeff ran things and how it all worked, and been able to continue on since then.
Yeah. Now, talking about Jeff, I've looked at the committee. And you've only just completed your AGM recently, haven't you?
Correct. Yeah. Yes. So the end of last month we had our annual general meeting. Really good committee voted in for this season again. So last year we had a strong committee and really got a few action items sorted that we wanted and some consistency in the club. And then again this season, a lot of repeat faces for the committee this year, which is good for flow on. But a couple of new names in James Inglis come on board for the 410 side of things. And Casey Bradford's returned to the committee this year as a 410 rep as well.
Well, it's a very good, well-balanced committee you've got there, and you've got some continuity with Jeff in the vice president's position, as you say, some new faces. So you haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater. No. It's a good, powerful, well-balanced committee as far as I can see.
Definitely, and that's one of the things that we've spoken about over the last few years is, we've had the likes of Jeff and Marlene and Alan Bain and Steve Adley, who's been on the committee and involved with the sport for a long time. Their experience and knowledge and understanding is fantastic. But then also, looking to the future in terms of, successions and new ideas and keeping the committee, keeping the club and the sport progressing through. So. That goes for the committee and our stewarding and scrutineering and, where's the next phase of our sport coming from and the involvement to keep it going.
Well done to all those people on the committees, and in fact all committees, all volunteers. We couldn't operate the sport without them, so well done, and you've got yourself a plum committee there, so congratulations.
That's good.
Now moving on, and one of the reasons that I got you in or invited you in was to talk about these impact indicators that you've spoken about, and clearly it's for driver wellbeing, safety and whatever, and health. Just talk a little bit about them. I've got some slides we'll put up in a minute, but just give us your interpretation?
Yeah, so this season coming in from effect on September 1st as the new season kicks off officially for the SCCA, there's going to be a mandatory impact indicator for all sprint car drivers in the SCCA divisions. Last year, some trials were undertaken to assess an impact indicator on drivers' helmets, all in the aim of ensuring drivers are well looked after if they've been in a crash, and the potential for any concussions and ongoing head trauma scenarios from crashes. So across Australia, we did some trials under the SCCA. Daniel Harding from WA actually trialled the indicators over here. And yeah, a successful trial across the board. And following on from that, at the annual SCCA conference with all the state member clubs, it was passed in that from this season onwards they'd be mandatory for all sprint car drivers. It's a key point to note about it is the indicators are an impact indicator more so than a concussion indicator.
Yes, I've just got that slide up there. It's not a medical device, it's a diagnostic concussion indicator.
Correct,
yes.
yeah. So really what these devices do is measure the impact that a driver's head is subjected to in a crash. If it reaches a 100G impact, the device will trigger, and then that will then prompt the safety crews, drivers, teams to go for further medical assessment and understanding if you have suffered a head trauma event and you know what medical treatment is required for that.
Well, given the sport that you're in, I think it's a great initiative. I mean, they have those sorts of tests for football and rugby and any other high impact sport, so you can't get much more high impact than sprint car driving when you end over end it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is just a diagnostic tool, it's not a medical diagnosis piece of equipment. Yeah.
Correct, yeah. So drivers, crews, safety personnel will use this as a tool to say, hey, there's been a high impact, or which you could be at risk of a concussion or other injuries, and then from there, you know, once it's triggered, the driver will be referred to the track medical teams, and then you know, onwards from there if there's any more concerns.
Now, talking about triggered and non-triggered, you can see this is a good one, untriggered or non-triggered, a ball bearing each end, or what it appears to be, and a spring balance in between. If there's any impact, that goes off, the spring flies out, and you can see it's a red when it's been indicated. So
Correct.
It's fairly basic but clear, isn't it? You can't fudge it.
No, absolutely. And being part of our now part of the general safety devices that we need for racing, these will just become an everyday check for our scrutineers and marshals through the field. It's quite obvious. The position that you wear them on your helmet is quite obvious. So yeah, it's a quick, easy tool to use.
Well, Matthew, talking about that, these are just two examples, but there's a horizontal or a vertical mount before and after the helmet, and a horizontal one a little bit, but there are some rules where you position them, I understand.
Yeah, so as part of the package that'll come out to all the drivers, there'll be an instruction manual as to how and where to mount them as such. Basically speaking, as long as they're on the top of the helmet, on the crown of the helmet, and clear of your containment seat, so you don't want them, you know, being banged up against the seat themselves, then, you know, that's essentially where you need to put them, just clear of that. So yeah, they're very easy to install. They're a stick-on type arrangement, a twist-off arrangement as well, you know, if you need to take it off and replace it if it does get triggered or damaged for whatever reason. So yeah, it's a pretty easy process, and yeah, a simple, effective tool to indicate whether there could be any more issues for drivers.
I think it's a great initiative, and as you say, putting it on the crown of the helmet, if you do have any head movement within your head restraint, that could trigger it off, so to put it higher than that. Is there any rules on how much space you have between your head restraint and your helmet?
Look, I have to double check myself. I don't believe there's a set measurement for the seats at the moment, albeit that in sprint cars, containment seats are compulsory.
Yes.
But that is a concern that drivers and crews should be aware of, is how much movement they have in their cabs, whether it be around your head or within the seat and your harnesses as well.
Sure.
Obviously, you need to be comfortable and able to drive, but you also need to be well strapped in and contained so that you know, any excessive body movement is eliminated. Otherwise, yeah, you do open yourself up for more impact injuries. So.
I interviewed Trent Pigden last season after his big crash, and unfortunately that was a nasty one where he hit a stanchion and ripped the halo bar off and the wing off. But he did tell me that he goes out in his warm-up and then ratchets himself back in again further after he does it in the pit. So he was well constrained in the restraint seat. But
100%. I'm the same, and I think you'd find most drivers, you know, you'll do your belts up in the pits or in the chute, and then once you start rolling around, you can feel the movement yourself, and you're yanking on your belts again before the green goes. So it's, you know, they're obviously not the most comfortable cars to drive anyway, but you know, you just can't sacrifice your safety for you know, for a little bit more comfort. You've got to make sure that you're well and truly strapped down.
yes, well, Matthew, a great initiative, and I think it's going to serve the sport well to have these sorts of mechanical devices that will help medical staff diagnose possible concussions and other injuries. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Spot on.
Well done. Now, you've got some more news on what now is Pro Sprints, formerly 360 sprint cars.
Yep. Yeah, so the last few years, the SCCA and the state member clubs have been discussing around an affordable engine option for the 360 class. I guess my view, sort of some of the origins, or you know, the background on 360s is obviously, you know, a feeder class for 410s,
yes,
and you know, potentially a more budget conscious race class available. But as we all know, costs and engines in 360s are as expensive as 410s, if not more in some cases. And from a WA perspective, you know, that makes it hard for competitors to compete on a, you know, more of a hobby style type season and team budget. So some work's been done over the years to look at different engine options, and the CT 525 engine's sort of been the most obvious and the one spoken about. So yeah, this year it's been officially ratified as an engine option for the Pro Sprint class now. That was ratified at the SCCA meeting, as well as the change in the name of the class. The name change basically has come about because of the various options for engines under the 360 class. They have different capacities. So the 525 actually has a higher engine capacity than a 360. So, you know, there was some talk around, well, really, it's not a 360 limited class now, albeit there's some balancing acts in terms of power and restrictions on the engines, and what we do. So, but really, I think this is a great option for the longevity of what was 360 racing in Australia, and particularly in WA. We were pretty enthused about pushing this engine and getting the option available. It's a strong, sturdy, reliable engine. You know, trials that have been done in various areas on the East Coast where they have been running them for a while. You know, relatively speaking, you should be able to get 3 good seasons out of an engine before a rebuild. You can, give or take, buy one brand new off the shelf for $25,000, $30,000, which is still a decent amount of money, but you know, it's certainly not your $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 360s. Power-wise, they're going to be, you know, very comparable.
I think I read somewhere it was about 530, 550 horsepower.
Absolutely.
It's not shabby, is it?
No, exactly. And the longevity and reliability out of it, okay, yeah, you might not have the top of the field horsepower, but we all know at the end of the night, can you actually use all that horsepower anyway? So if you've got a strong, reliable motor that you can get the power to the ground on consistently, then you're going to be
on a
at the
slick
pointy
track,
end anyway.
that'd be ideal to drive, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I do. And with a tyre shortage, probably not a bad thing.
Spot on, spot on.
And I think I've got about 470, 480 foot-pounds of torque. Again, that's not shabby at all out of a crate engine. Well, we could call it a crate engine.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's whilst it's more of a budget-conscious engine, it's certainly got performance to be running up front and mixing it. So
you said it is optional.
Yep.
So what if a competitor chooses to have another engine and ups the horsepower and does all these Mickey Mouse things? Will that slowly be phased out so you only have a class of 525 engine?
Look, that's not on the cards at the moment, no. I think, to be honest, economies will probably sort of dictate where teams go with that. So certainly the engine options that were available under the 360 class previous are all still there. There's been no reduction in the 360 engines or the LS engines that were allowed previous. But some of the conversations I've had with teams will be, as some of the bigger engines come up for rebuild or end of life, teams will make a decision. Okay, is it worth spending $80,000 or can I do it for 30?
Yeah, I've got a picture there just of a generic engine. It may not necessarily, but it is a 525 engine and there's probably a few variants of them, but a nice looking engine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's obviously the LS3 model Chevy engine, so relatively easy to get hold of. Can buy them new off the shelf and few slight modifications to set it up for sprint car in terms of fuel mounts and bits and pieces, but bolt it in and off you go.
I've got just some generic things up there, and you may not be able to read it at home as a viewer, but and these are not generally specific and correct for the engines you're talking about, but they're very conclusive, I suppose. Even a bit of dyno tuning and braking before you get it out of the crate and those sort of things. They're all assembled with perhaps the fuel and spark plugs and ignition harnesses and so on, aren't they?
Spot on, yeah. So some of these specs are just the general ones off the GM website, but there is the official spec on the SAWA website and the SCCA website. But essentially, you can go and buy one of these motors off the shelf, mount your fuel system, and bolt it into the it into the car, and off you go.
It already is a good class, but as you say, you're just trying to contain the cost a little bit and make sure it remains a good class.
Yeah, it's absolutely a good class, and the resurgence that we've seen with the SAWA series and 360 drivers getting back into racing has been fantastic. This, from my perspective, is just a great way to try and build our participation. We all know racing is expensive generally, and things can get out of control pretty quick for if you want it to. So if we've got a competitive, effective and cost-effective option to get more people out on the track, then from a committee perspective and a body perspective, we should pursue that.
Well, no, again, another great initiative, and the problem for all of us is getting to call them pro sprints now, not 360. So watch this space, pro sprints with a 525 LS3 engine. It'll be a great class. Matthew, Australian sprint car title, excuse me again. Marcus Dumsney, the defending champion, coming across here with the numbers of other sprint car drivers. What a great event for Perth to host.
Absolutely, and finally we get it after a few years of delays and postponements. So, no, this is going to be a great event. I'm really excited about it. All the fans and supporters should be excited about it. The prep and the planning and the discussions that Gavin and the Motorplex team have been having with myself and the SEG board as plans and what they want to do for the event as a whole is really exciting. Look, without giving too much away, I really think this should set the bar as to what an Australian title should be.
This is how you should run it.
Yeah, some really great ideas. Hopefully we get a great number of teams coming over from the east, and we can make a fantastic couple of weeks out of racing. And do it justice.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to that. Now, Wednesday the 8th is a prelude. You might just explain some of these in a moment. Then on the Friday the 10th is the title race, 11th the title race, and then a Calcutta. I'll talk to you about that in a moment.
Yep.
So is there seeded drivers and then you qualify to make the rest of the field? How is that going to work?
So essentially the title format is open for all drivers. There's no seedings or anything like that prior to the event. So basically it's all drawn on the days of happening, and then throughout your heat racing, and you'll build up your points over the couple of nights and then fit into your C main, B main, A main from there. So, but yeah, essentially going into the title, everyone starts on zero, and it's how you perform on the night.
So it counts for nothing to be a defending champion here. Forget that.
I think maybe the Australian champion might get a provisional. I'm not sure. I think they may have an option of that, but other than that, it's open slather.
So the prelude will be qualifying, or is that some other event?
No, it'll be a separate event.
Yes.
So yeah, Gavin and the team at the Motorplex, normally speaking, the Wednesday nights might be a practice night for teams, but I guess in conjunction with, unfortunately, World Series not running this season, we've we had a couple of rounds of World Series that were planned prior that are now not on the calendar and not happening. So running a race meeting on the Wednesday night prior to the title gives local drivers and any of our eastern states competitors coming over a good run in. Let's make it a bit more serious than just practice, and dial in for the Friday and Saturday nights.
So about 11 o'clock Saturday evening, the 11th of February, we'll have an Australian champion, hopefully a new one.
Yep. Hopefully a WA driver.
Now, Matthew, tell me about the Calcutta. The Sprintcar Association is going to get involved in that and run it, I understand.
Correct. Yeah. So as the state member club, of the state hosting the title, SAWA will conduct a Calcutta event. That's planned for the Thursday night, Thursday the 9th of February, in between the Wednesday and the first night of the title on the Friday. Planning that's underway, initial discussions. Obviously, we've had a few discussions over the last couple of years when we thought we were going to be doing it each other year. More than likely, we'll be hosting that down at the Motorplex in conjunction with Gavin and his team, and some facilities down there. Look, we obviously want to get all of our competitors and teams involved, and then the public and ticket options out there so that people can come along, really get that buzz and that build up into the title, which there's a lot of plans for the week prior, and different events and activations. So just if we can keep making it a whole week event and keep the fans interacted and the teams up to it.
Just for viewers, explain how that Calcutta works.
Yeah, so generally speaking, it's basically an auctioning off of drivers for the title. So it is a fundraising event for the club and for the event. But yeah, if you get sponsors and fans involved, and auction off the drivers, and if your driver comes in as the winner on the Saturday night, then you can share in some of the spoils from the auction.
Well, you can get 10-1 on Matty right now. Give us a ring after the show.
I think that'll be a bit longer than that.
Look, it's going to be a fabulous event, as you say, not just the prelude and the titles, the Calcutta, but Gavin and his team and the Sprintcar Association got lots of events planned in and around the event. It'll be sensational.
Definitely, and from a wider perspective for the SAWA side of things, we've got the Pro Sprint state title the weekend before down at Bunbury, so we're actually hoping that some of the eastern states competitors coming for the Aussie title might throw a 360 engine in there, or a Pro Sprint engine in their truck, and bring it over for the week before. And then the week following, the announcement of the Creaky Boy race at the Motorplex the following weekend as well. So if we can have 3 good weekends of racing for sprint cars in general across WA, it's a fantastic outcome.
Well, when you say 3 big meetings, the meeting before the 3 Pro Sprint title. Then we've got 3 nights of racing here, plus Calcuttas and all, and then the Creaky Boy shootout. I mean, that'll just sensation.
It'd be great. Like I say, would have loved to have had World Series here and part of that mix, which those events were pre and post were going to be, but regardless of that, the events that we've got scheduled, it's great incentive for teams to come over and great incentive for the fans and sponsors to come along and get involved.
I interviewed Gavin Migro about whether some of the Eastern States boys would stay over for the Cricky Boy shootout. I mean, you're hoping to get some of them to come for the pro sprint class.
Yep.
The week before. Do you think that's a possibility that some will stay over?
Oh, definitely. I think, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually have some Eastern States competitors here for more of the season than that even. I mean, we're going to have another fantastic WA USA Speed Week series. The way we are managing our series and managing our tyre stocks and all that kind of thing, I think is actually great incentive for teams to come over here and base themselves this way for more of the season and in the lead up to the title, so they can put their best foot forward, both WA drivers and Eastern States competitors. But there's Sprintcar Racing in WA this season is going to be very healthy,
looking forward to it
more
all.
the better.
Now, just quickly, we're running out of time, but Chariots of Thunder up at Darwin, Northline Speedway. WA are well represented. I've got a few of the drivers. I don't know whether these nominations are still current. You nominated for it yourself, but you withdrawn with tyre shortage and so on?
Yeah. So a couple of months ago, we had about 17 drivers from WA nominated that went out there, which was brilliant. Like I say, unfortunately, a few of us, and myself included, have had to withdraw just with budget constraints and tyres and travel and whatnot. But I think we've still got between 10 and 12 WA competitors up in Darwin this weekend coming and next weekend. And so far the drivers that have been up there, we had Chris Coyle with a second place finish a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, indeed.
He did well again last week. We had James Inglis, AJ Nash, Callum Williamson all running in the NT and Darwin titles last week. Mitch Wormel's been up there for the whole season as well. So great showing for WA and
Ryan Farrell, I've got his name down here.
Yeah, Ryan's heading up there for the Chariots. So it's fantastic and a great event that the NT Sprint Cars put on as well, and Northline Speedway. Jason McIver and his team do a fantastic job. The promotional value, the fan interaction and activations is fantastic, and I think it's. Well, for me, it's definitely a bucket list item to get up there and do it. And I think for a lot of drivers around Australia now, it's one of those events you have to do.
And I think there's some good nominations of WA speed cars up there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So first time in a long time that speed cars have been up at Northline. I'll be pretty confident in saying there's at least half a dozen WA guys heading up there in the speed cars too.
Well, they gave it a good shot last season, but COVID, they turned around and came back from about Broome or something like that. Bit frustrating, but they got there this year. Yeah. Matthew, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and I really thank you for your time and best wishes for the coming season, not only for yourself as Matthew Cross, the racer, but as President of the Sprint Car Association and all you're going to be doing for the Australian Sprint Car title. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Graham. And look forward to the season ahead. Hope all the fans enjoy it. Thank you.
Well, there we are. Matthew Cross there. You've been watching Talking About Speedway. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.